Hello everybody, back here again with a Go format deck profile. This time a special twist on the traditional Beastdown type deck. We have to start off the deck profile is some of the cards that you'd expect in this type of deck. Enraged Battle Ox to give your monsters piercing damage, and that's 1700 attack. Really good against goats and flips, which pretty much everybody plays in this format. And of course, we have Berserk Gorilla. We have two of them. Could potentially cut down to one, but I like to have two of them to have potential outs to really huge monsters. And who doesn't like to hit the opponent for 2,000 in the face? Another card that you might see in those typical kind of decks is a Tribe-Infecting Virus. Helps you get rid of goats or 1,000 Eyes Restrict or other potentially problematic cards the opponent might have. Then we start to veer off a bit as we include in our deck 3 Chiron the Mage, 1800 attack, 1000 defense, and it's a Beast Warrior, so it gets piercing from Enraged Battle Ox. And it says once per turn you can discard one spell card and target a spell or trap card on the field and destroy that card. We have 19 spells in this deck, so pretty much half of our deck can be discarded to this effect to pop back row. And has a really decent attack. I think a lot of people underrate this card. I think it can really shine in this deck specifically. Then we also have 3 copies of Giant Rat in the deck. It's a beast, so it gets a boost from Enraged Battle Ox, and it can search out some of our other monsters that we're playing, such as Exiled Force, which you might not usually see in these kinds of decks, but it helps get rid of Thousand Eyes Restrict and BLS and boss monsters that we end up not being able to run over. As well, Giant Rat can search out Gyakugire Panda. Really good against Scapegoats. Gets 500 attack for each of the opponent's monsters and deals piercing damage. So if they have goats or even just a couple of monsters, this thing can get really huge. And we also have Injection Fairy Lily, a massive beat stick when you really need it. And we have a secret tech card in here. It is Ghost Knight of Jackal. It's a level 5 with 1700 attack and 1600 defense. Pretty low body for a tribute monster, even weaker than Air Knight Parshath. But it has a really unique effect. When it destroys an opponent's monster at battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can target that monster from the graveyard and special summon it to your side of the field defense position. So if the opponent has a boss monster that you end up flipping, or even just something that's slightly smaller, you can end up taking it for yourself, getting a lot of card advantage off of that. You can see that pretty much every one of our monsters, except for Tribe-Infecting Virus, are all Earth monsters. So I decided to include Gaia Power in this deck to increase their attack points by 500. We have 2 copies of Gaia Power and 1 Terraforming. You could potentially run, even for a while I was running 2 copies of Terraforming this deck because you can discard it to Chiron the Mage if you really don't need it. But I think currently this is pretty good balance. You never really need 3 Gaia Power, and having a card to thin the deck can help sometimes. With Gaia Power, you can end up making Berserk Gorilla 2500, so it can run over even Monarchs, and 500 more damage to the opponent when you're hitting them with Enraged Battle Ox. Even makes Giant Rat a 1900 beater, so it's pretty formidable, and makes Ghost Knight of Jackal actually have decent stats, 2200. We have some more special tech in this deck. Alongside Gaia Power, we have 2 copies of Scapegoat, which the goat tokens are Earth, and I've won multiple duels by attacking the opponent directly with Scapegoat tokens when Gaia Power is out. As we're running the goat tokens, and because we want to have more spells to be able to discard to Chiron the Mage, we're running 2 enemy controller instead of some traps. You can tribute your goat tokens to grab the opponent's monster and steal it for yourself. And as well, you could just use enemy control to change it to defense so you can run over it more easily, and you do piercing damage with your monsters too. So again, if they have a Monarch or they have just a boss monster, you could probably run it over with a lot of this stuff. And as well, we have 3 copies of Book of Moon because we really hate Thousand Eyes Restrict, and because our monsters really love to run over bigger monsters. Then, of course, Nobleman of Crossout. It goes alongside Book of Moon, and plus, we really don't like flips. Even if we're going to do a bunch of damage to them, we still don't want them to have flip monsters, flip effects. Of course, we have the Heavy Storm, Mystical Space Typhoon, 1 Premature Burial, and a Snatch Steal just to steal their bosses or help us get in for that last bit of damage. This card can steal you a lot of wins. Then we have Call the Haunted to help bring back our monsters and beat the opponent down more. Mirror Force, Ring of Destruction, and Torrential Tribute. We don't run King Tiger Wangu in this deck because we are playing some lower attack monsters like Gaku Gaia Panda or Girei Panda and Injection Fairy Lily, Exiled Force, and Scapegoat. And we don't really play more traps, but if you were going to play traps, I'd either go with Solemn Judgment or just take out all of these and put in Royal Decree in place. But I like to have the utility of having some traps. You could even take out all of these, put in 3 Royal Decree, 1 more enemy controller or another Scapegoat. Probably an enemy controller over a Scapegoat just because you can't always use Scapegoat's effect. So you like to hit the board with your monsters. You don't have too many ways to tribute them otherwise. That's going to be it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know what you think of the deck. Take care.